Okay, 7th graders, this video is talking to you about scatter plots and what kind of a relationship that they make, as well as box and whisker charts. Now, you've seen both of these in 7th grade, but it is a component to the STAR test this year. It's like a review component to the STAR test. So we're going to do some review with it. And then in class, we're going to work with some different types of a problem. So what I want you to do is I want you to take notes, take really good notes, and then have an idea of what we're going to work with when you come into class. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about scatter plots. So we're going to build a quadrant 1. And this is quadrant 1 because we're talking about positive values. Okay, this is my x-axis and this is my y-axis. And in this instance, we're going to talk about the amount of snow that falls over each month. And so time is my x-axis, but I'm measuring time in months. And I'm counting an amount of snowfall, how much snow is falling, but I'm going to measure it in inches. Okay? And so I'm going to start with January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Okay? And I can just put abbreviations. Okay? And I'm going to start with amounts, and instead of counting by ones, I'm going to count by fives. And I'm doing that because I can see the data chart that I'm going to talk to you about. But so I know that counting by fives is a better option in this case. All right, so we're going to graph. We're going to plot what they give us. So they tell us that in March, there was 31 inches of rain. So here's March, and there were 31 inches. So right there's my dot. And in April, they told us that there was 25 inches. And in May, they told us there was 11 inches. And in June, there were 2 inches. And in July, there was no rainfall. So if you take a look, and if you really wanted to, you could connect these dots. And if you connected them, you would see this kind of downward pattern. My line is going down and to the right, which means that this is a negative, let me write it in a different color, a negative trend. As the months go on, the amount of rain is decreasing. And that would be the type of sentence that you would make if you were relating this to words and to real life. As the months go later in the year, we decrease in rainfall. Okay? Now let's talk about what happens if we see a different type of a scatter plot. Okay, in this graph, I don't actually have any real information, but this is a type of a graph. It's often seen in science fair. Along your x-axis is probably time. And it could be hours, it could be minutes, it could be seconds. Let's call this like bacteria growth. So as time increased, our bacteria did what? And how are we measuring it? Well, I'm going to measure it in just number of colonies because that makes sense for bacteria. Okay? And of course, in science fair, I never test anything just one time. I tested 10 times. And that's why we have all these black dots, because that's multiple tests. So at the 1 hour mark, or the 1.5 hour mark, I had all of these different amounts of bacteria colonies, depending on how many petri dishes I was looking at. At 3 hours, this is what I had in my different plates. Okay? So what kind of a sentence could we make about the bacteria growth over time? So try a trend line. If you follow kind of the average of these dots and you cut through the middle of it, you can see a trend line. Well, this line is increasing. So the correlation for this problem is that as time increases, bacteria growth increases. And that would be our correlation, that this is an increasing or a positive trend. Okay, and it's because it's based on what's happening with those scatter plots. Okay, this is the stem and leaf plot, and the blue line represents the stem, and they call it this because it kind of could look like, I guess, a plant, and so this would be a leaf, and this would be a leaf. And this leaf on the left is considered the tens column, and the right side of the blue line is considered the ones column. And so what this is really showing you is a way to chart numbers in a different manner. And so if you take the 2 from the tens column and you put it with the 0 from the ones column, you have the number 20. And if you put the 2 from the tens with the 2 from the ones, you have the number 22. And so this second row can actually be written as 4 numbers as well: 31, 34, 35, and 37. And the third row is actually 46, 48, 49. And this fourth row is 50, 51, and 59. And the last row is 81, 83, 84, 88, and 89. Now there are a couple other things to look at when you're taking a look at these stem and leaf plots, and one of the things is the way the numbers are organized. And so the numbers are organized in the tens column from least to greatest, going downwards. And in the ones column, they're organized from least to greatest, going across to the right. And this is really just a way to organize numbers in a different fashion. But because of the way it's set up, when you do turn them into a list of numbers, you can find your smallest number and your largest number really easily. And again, you can find it on your chart as well, okay, because of the way that they're organized. This method is also used for finding like a median or an average, because you can take your list of numbers, whether you do it how it is here in this red box or this purple box, and you can cross out lowest and highest along the way in sets, and you're going to end up coming up with your median. So I've crossed out 4 lows and 4 highs. 5, there's 6, there's 7, there's 8. So that leaves my middle number as 49. So this is my mean, okay, or my median of my number chart. And you can do the same thing when it's in the stem and leaf plot. You can cross it out as low to high, as long as you're doing it in pairs and making sure that you cross out 4 lows and 4 highs. And along the way, you're going to end up with your median number. And here it is, 49, which is the same thing that we got over here in this chart. Okay, that's it for today. Don't forget to do your homework.